And then there are those who are rational and those who are spiritual. The human form of this last may seem less beautiful, but they are human more than the others. Take away good and truth, and you have human figures. Figures. Human figures.
Like
Yeah,
figures.
figure.
Figures.
Figures. In which there is nothing human, they become like painting and graving images and like apes. We use the terms the good and the true and the will and the understanding un- interchangeable. Interchangeable.
Interchangeably? Is it?
Interchangeable. Yeah. Yeah.
Interchangeably.
Interchangeably. Mm. It's like all I can't explain. Interchangeably. Because good is ref, referable referable to the will and truth to the understanding. For the will is the receptacle of what is good and the understanding of what is true. Receptacle.
Receptacle.
A receptacle. It's like container of what is good and the understanding of what is true. The good and true must exist, or course in some subject, nothing can be detached from its subject. The human being is the neighbor, therefore, but in a spiritual idea, it is the good and the true by virtue of which a person is human. The good and the true in people are therefore the neighbor to be loved. Imagine that you are choosing someone for some domestic work out of a group. Domestic.
Domestic.
It's like internal domestic. Work out of a group. Do you not choose according to the good and the true in the person? It's these that make a person to be human. When you choose one of the number for some service, do you not endure into do you not inquire? Inquire.
Inquire.
It's like ask question. Do you not inquire one into the person's will and understanding? The one you select is to you the neighbor whom you love. In countenance, a devil person can look like an angel person. Is not the angel person to be loved, and not the devil person? You do good to an angel person because to the good and true in that person, but not to the devil person. Charity requires that the latter should be punished if found doing evil, and the angel person should be rewarded by doing good for doing good. If you are thinking of choosing a wife from among 10 young women, 5 of whom are unchaste and 5 chaste, do not choose one of the chaste according to the good in her that agrees with your good. A neighbor's quality is the good in the person, or such as is the person, such is the neighbor. Not all people are equally the neighbor, as the Lord's parable about the man wounded by robbers teaches teaches in which we are told that the Samaritan who came to his aid was the neighbor. Failing to distinguish the neighbor according to the quality of good and truth in the person, we shall be misled over and over. Charity will be confused and finally become null. A devil person may cry, I am the neighbor, do good to me. And if you do good to such a person, that person may kill you and others. you are putting a knife or sword in the devil person's hand. Naive people do this. Who are naive people? Naive.
Naive.
Naive. Naive. It's
Which
like
kind of dictionary you're using?
application. I mean, sorry, are you asking about application?
The dictionary app.
It's a application read error. You can see.
Oh, read error. Okay, thank you.
Who wants to read? Maybe next.
Okay.
Naive.
From where should I start?
Naive people do
Okay.
this.
Naive people do this. They say that all are equally the neighbor, and also that it is not up to them to try to discover what another's equality is. God looks to that. I must simply help the neighbor. But this is not loving the neighbor. When we love the neighbor out of genuine out of
Genuine.
genuine charity, we ask what a person is like and then give benefits this secretly according to the quality of the person's good.
Discreetly.
Oh,
Discreetly.
Discreetly, like wisely,
wisely. Okay.
providently, wisely. Secretly, maybe, and then give benefits discreetly. I think it's like secretly in this sense, yeah, because you see, it's like wisely, but we can say secretly.
It has four meanings.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So in the other life, ingenious. Am I right?
Ingenious, like maybe it's like wise. No.
Ingenuous.
Ingenuous. Oh,
Ingenuous.
Ingenuous.
It's like simple people, innocent, ingenuous.
got it. Ingenious people like these are kept away from diabolical spirits because they let themselves be persuaded to them to them good and to do evil to the good. The evil cry out, "Free me, help me." The greatest strength that the evil can acquire lies just here, without the help of the
I think this word is diabolical. Let's see.
diabolical.
Diabolical.
Yeah.
Diabolical.
Diabolical.
It's like devilish. Devilish.
Devilish.
Devilish. Diabolical. And without the help of the
Without the help of a simple and this kind of alliance with them, evil people are powerless. But with the help of those they deceive by using the name neighbor, they are strong. Okay, who's the next person? Yeah,
you
I
can
stopped
you
there.
you you you, you can continue if you can.
Oh, okay. Charity that is really genuine. Gen- oh my god.
Genuine. Maybe genuine or genuine. Let's see. I think.
Genuine.
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 It's like real. True.
And
What's the
what
main
the
genuine?
Genuine is like real. For example, real person. Genuine, like true. You see, true. It's a good way to translate from synonyms. You see, true, sincere, real, like this.
Okay,
and
complete.
what about the following word? Prut Prutium? No.
What's the word?
It's prudent.
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 Yeah.
Prudent. Prudent is like
prudent,
reasonable, wise. For example, if you are a wise person, I can say you're a prudent person too. Like
Okay.
reasonable. Mhm.
Got it. Okay, prudent and wise. Other charity is suspicious.
Spurious. Spurious.
Spurious.
spurious,
Oh my god, pronouncing these words are really hard.
Spurious. Spurious. Spurious.
Spurious.
It's like false
Yeah.
fictions.
Spurious, being solely of the well or of good, and not at the same time of the understanding or of truth.
Go on.
Where is
degree
it?
of
The degree of, yeah.
of neighbor.
The degree of neighbor is the degree of the good is the degree of the good and the true in a person. Hence, no one is the neighbor in the same degree as another. There are distinguishable degrees of good, civil, moral, and spiritual. Spiritual good is the neighbor that a person loves from charity. Without this good, there is no charity. It is spiritual good for all in heaven are united according to it. Moral, moral good, which is true human good, for it is this reason good, through which people through which people live with one another in society, is the neighbor as far as it partakes of spiritual good. What does partakes mean?
Partakes.
partakes,
Partakes. In this sense, like it's like participate.
participate,
Oh,
For example,
participate.
you participate in this channel, and we can say you partake of this channel.
Like
It means you take parts of the spiritual good. You help and
Mhm.
you
Yeah,
participate
it's like to
to help,
maybe
to participate, and take part, partake it.
to eat like this. Because 1 second. Yeah,
Fast.
it's like take. It's like take part of spiritual good. We can say in spiritual good. It's
Yeah.
like share, divide, commune. Do you see commune in figurative sense, like eat, taste, participate, like this.
Yes, exactly. Exactly.
or
Go on.
where was I? Or moral good without spiritual is external good and not internal, and springs from the external will. It can be evil, and in that even is not to be loathed. Civil good is the good of a life lived in accord with civil laws, and its first ground for not acting contrary to those laws is on account of penalties. When moral good is absent, no. What
Absent.
does absent mean? I don't know.
Mhm.
absent,
It's
Lack.
like lack. Leave,
Oh,
missing. Is outside. Like when moral good is outside from it, like this. Is absent from it. Absent.
absent from it. Okay. And the spiritual good also that should be in the moral. Civil good is animal-like, such as chained or caged animals show to those
Caged.
who
What is caged?
Bro,
Caged.
what?
It's like prisoned animals, like in
Present?
Animals in prison, like caged animals in zoo, for example.
Onlar?
Caged animals.
Okay, bro. Okay, nice.
Show. Animals show.
animals show to those who feed or punish or carries them.
Carries. It's about
Caress.
Caress. Oh,
Caress.
caress, like for example, it's like a stroke, tenderness, tender,
Caress.
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 Punish or caress them.
Okay. Caress them. Yeah. A person
Okay.
learns. Yeah. A person learns about civil good in early childhood from the Decalogue.
Decalogue, it's like 10 Commandments. 10 Commandments.
Commandments. All right. The
In
laws
Christian
of the
world. In Christian world, they call 10 Commandments like the Decalogue.
okay.
It's like law of God in the Bible.
Okay, got it. From the laws of the Decalogue first become civil laws after wards moral, and finally spiritual, and goods then first become goods of charity according to the degrees named. True charity regards first of all the good of a person's soul and loves it because there is merging in it. Then it regards and loves the moral good that a person lives as a moral being, in accordance with the state of the perfection of the person's reason. Finally, wait, I think, yeah. Okay, finally, it regards civil good in accord with which a person acts in the world. In the measure of one's moral good, a person is a human being above the world and below heaven. But in the measure of one's spiritual good, a person is a being of heaven or an angel.
Angel.
Yeah, yeah. The as the as society, no, associating, yeah. The associating of people together is effected through this good, and then according to degrees by the good things of the lower degrees. For example, there is the person who wills well and does not understand well, but one who does not understand well does not do well, and is hardly a rational moral being. What does a rational moral mean?
Rational moral. Like, I know what is rational. It's like two words, rational and moral.
Rational moral.
Rational, rational. It's like wise about wise decisions and acting,
Oh,
wise
right,
acting.
decisions.
And moral. I think you know what is moral, yeah, like morality. Rational moral being.
Yeah, okay. Conversely, am I right?
Conversely, yeah, conversely.
Conversely, a person who understands well and do not intend well is not the neighbor as to the understanding. One who does not wish well, however, adequately, no, I don't know,
Adequately, I think.
adequately,
Adequately.
adequately, yeah,
Adequately.
sufficiently, okay. adequately the person may understand is not the neighbor. In a
I
word,
think I think thank you. It's enough because maybe someone wants to read
okay, yeah.
mhm, from 61.
Yeah. Who wants to read?
Okay, I read.
Go ahead.
In a word, the will makes the neighbor and the understanding, insofar as it is the will's
Mhm.
good of the internal will is the neighbor to be loved and not good of the external will, except as the later makes one with the former. There is an internal and an external will. Similarly, an internal and an external understanding. The internal will has union with the heaven and the external with the world. All good is predicable of the will, and the good of charity is the good of the internal will.
Predicable.
Predicable is the prediction.
Predicable.
Predicable. It's like foretold. Foretold. Yeah.
Predicable.
It's like about foretold. I think. If you know this word, like foretell. Internal will.
The two wills ordinarily separated in us, and wisely so in hypocrites, pretenders, and flatterers for gain. But when this will make one, then their goods make one good, which is the neighbor, to be illustrated by examples and comparisons. Truth is the neighbor as far as it makes one with good, which it does in the same way that form makes one with essence. Any form gets its quality from the essence. The form is what essence is. This may be illustrated by the fact that the understanding, viewed deeply, is what will is. It may be illustrated from sound and speech and from many other things. See in Apocalypse reveal the truth is good. Organized from this it is evident that good or the person in the measure of personal goodness is, in a spiritual idea, the neighbor to be loved.
Okay, it's
I
like
think that's
footnotes.
yeah,
And next,
the skill.
the scale of neighbors. Maybe you can continue because it was short.
Okay.
You read.
The scale of neighbors. Charity's objects are the individual, a community, one's country, and the human race. All are neighbor in a restricted or a wide sense. We all know that individual is the neighbor, a community is the neighbor because it is a composite person. Composite person.
Composite. I think
Composite
composite.
person.
Composite.
Composite, like combination.
Composite person. One's country is because it is a composite of many communities and is thus a still more highly composite person. The human race is neighbor because it consists of large communities, each of them human in the composite, hence human in the widest sense. The individual is the neighbor according to the quality of that person's good. Since good is the neighbor, spiritually conceived, and a person is not only good subject, but as a person does right, it's object too. It follows the this in the
Natural idea.
Natural idea. A person is the neighbor. One individual is not the neighbor more than another merely in point of person, but as to the good from which the person is such a person. Uh, there are many differences of neighbor as there are differences of good, and these are infinite. People think that a brother or kinsman is more a neighbor than a stranger, or that a fellow citizen is more a neighbor than a foreigner. But everyone is neighbor according to the personal good, whether the person is Greek or Gentile. For a person is neighbor in the measure of uh, spiritual kinship or relationship. This is apparent in the fact that everyone after that comes among those who enjoy the same good, or what
Which is comparable.
imparable, similar affections, natural kinships, moreover, perish after death, and spiritual succeed them in a community in heaven. All know one another and are associated because they are in similar good. Of 10 brothers in the world, 5 may be in hell and 5 in heaven, and these 5 in different communities. When they meet, one does not know the other. Their affections are reflected in their faces. From this, it can be seen that every person is neighbor according to the person's quality of good. The good qualities that are the criteria are more especially spiritual ones. Charity regards this primarily. A smaller or larger community is the neighbor according to the good that it fosters.
Fosters. What is it?
Fosters.
Fosters. It's like promoting. Promote.
Every community in a country is created for uses, which are various. There are communities whose task is the administration of various civic matters, which are multiple various judicial affairs, various economic matters, various churchly affairs, such as consistories, academies, and schools. There are also numerous educational communities. We can only think of a community as a composite person. Community is the neighbor. The therefore, according to the good of the service that it renders, if it renders distinguished services, it is more the neighbor. If it renders lowly services, it is less the neighbor. If evil uses, it is the neighbor only as an evil person who's good. I desire so that the person may become good. As far as possible, I look for means to improve this person, even though the means may consist of threats, punishments, penalties, and uh, privations.
Privations, like to private.
Privations.
Privation. Privation, like
Privations.
and deprivation.
Deprivation.
Deprivation. It's like taking away from you something. Privations.
Privations.
Okay. Who is next? I think I think it's my turn. A community that has a single function is viewed as a composite human being. When a country is viewed in this way, some are called members of government. But among themselves, they make one person whose members they are Severally. Severally, maybe. Severally.
Severally.
Severally. Severally. It's like separately. Separately. Severally.
Separately.
Separately. Severally and separately. This resembles.
Resembles.
It's like remind. This resembles what is to be found in heaven. Every community there, smaller or larger, is like one person. It also actually appears as one person. I have seen a distinguished community as a single person. The form of heaven is the human form. A community on earth appears before the angels in heaven in like manner as one human being. A person's own country is neighbor according to its spiritual, moral, and civil good. We think of our country as a single entity. All the laws of justice, therefore, entity.
Entity.
It's like essence, organization, entity. All the laws of justice, therefore, are enacted as if for one being. Enacted.
Enacted.
It's like accepted, enacted, prescribed, as if for one being. Our country is accordingly like its people in mass. En masse. It's like one word. What does it mean? Yeah, it's like mass. It is also called a body in which the leader is highest. Its good for which we are to take thought is called the public good and the common good. It is also said of the leader that the people are in the body of that government. When it pleases the Lord, a kingdom in heaven is visualized visualized.
Visualised.
It's like 1 second. What's the word? Visualized.
Visualized.
Visualized. It's about vision. Before the angels as one person. In form such as its qualities, the form in general is one of spiritual affection. The form of the face, the form of its spiritual good, and the form of the body, the form of its civil good, while its manners, speech, and the like present its rational good. In seeing a kingdom as a single person, we see of what quality it is, and it is the neighbor according to its quality. Birth does not make one person the neighbor more than another, nor indeed do mother and father nor education. These are considerations of natural good, neither proximity. Proximity. It's like neighborhood. Proximity nor relationship makes one person the neighbor more than another. Thus neither does country. Our country should be loved according to the quality of its good. There is an obligation to serve it, which is done by consulting its use, for then all are consulted. The same does not hold for countries outside it, because one country may not want another's good, but may want to destroy it its wealth and power, and its means of self-defense. It would tend against the good of our own country to love another country more or to consult its good more. Our own country is therefore to be loved in a higher degree. Suppose, for example, that I was born in Venice or Rome. Venice.
Venice.
Venice. Was born in Venice or Rome, and that I am a Protestant. Am I to love my country or the land of my birth for its spiritual good? I cannot, nor as to its moral and civil good when this hinge.
Hinge.
Hinge. It's like depend on this hinge or on its spiritual good, as they do in part. But so far as they do not hinge on it, I can love that country, even though it finds me hateful. Thus I will not spitif, spitefully,
Spitefully.
spitefully, like
Viciously.
viciously, spitefully, treat it as an enemy or foe, but foe,
Foe.
foe like enemy, or foe, but will love it, not harming it, but consulting its good, as far as it is good for it, and yet not doing so in a way to strengthen it in any falsity or evil, but about love of country more elsewhere. Mhm. Maybe someone wants to read next 87 from this. Okay. The human
Anyone?
race is. Do you want to read? Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, okay. The human race is the neighbor in the widest, widest sense, a
Sense.
sense. Oh yeah. But divided as it is into empires, kingdoms, and republics, any one of these is the neighbor according to the good of its religion and morals, and according to the good that it renders a person's country and that it identifies with its own good. These points are too comprehensive to be illustrated severally. Sufficient, am I right?
Suffi-
Sufficient to
Suffice, maybe.
Suffice.
suffice it to
Suffice is like satisfy, is like be enough. Suffice.
suffice it
Suffice it
to
too.
say that if a person from another country and I reside in the same house or city, that person is my neighbor according to the personal good. This holds true of anyone like this person in that country. Suppose the person is the ambassador of a kingdom representing the king and those the kingdom. Uh, those, am I right? Thus,
Thus. And
thus,
thus.
yeah, okay.
Thus is like
It's
so.
like
Thus.
so,
Thus.
or therefore, yeah. Okay, surely this person is my neighbor, according to the kingdom's religious and moral good. And as far as the kingdom that desires good for my country, next page,
Country.
desires for my good country, and itself, especially in so far as the one good uh, coincide with the other. I'm not speaking of any good, but that of charity, and of genuine charity evil people Even robbers and devils can love each other, but not from charity or from the good of an interior love. They are one another's neighbors because they make common cause in doing evil, in stealing, committing whoredom, taking
Hold on.
whoredom, taking revenge.
This word like H.
Yeah,
whoredom,
Hodom. Do you see transcription? Hodom. It's like
whoredom. Yeah,
fornication.
okay.
whoredom,
Hodom. It's like fornication. Taking revenge.
Taking revenge, killing, and slandering,
Slandering.
slandering. Yeah,
Slandering is
but
like maybe mm,
slandering,
slandering.
slandering,
It's
tell
like
someone.
tell bad things uh, on someone.
Ah, okay.
Defame.
What?
Defame.
Defame. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. Slandering. Go on.
Okay, but we are not speaking. Okay, but we are not speaking of such as they, for we treat here of charity and it's good. I can love all in the world according to their religion. Those in my own country no more than those in other countries, nor those in Europe more than those in Africa. I love Gentiles more than
Gentiles.
Gentiles.
Gentiles. Like
What does it
pagans.
mean?
Gentiles
Pagans.
like pagans. It's like
Gentiles,
people with another faith. Gentiles like this.
Gentile.
Non-Christians. Gentiles are like non-Christians
Non-Christians.
and
Okay, I get it.
non-Jews.
I love Gentiles more than Christians if they live well if they will oh no. If they
They,
live well according to religion. Worship, worshipping God
mhm.
from the worshipping God from the heart, saying, I will not do this evil because it is against God. I do not love them. I do not love them according to the doctrine.
Doctrine. It's like
Doctrine.
teaching doctrine.
Doctrine. Okay. Teaching. However, but according to their life, for if I love them according to their doctrine alone, I love them as external people. But if according to life also I love them as internal people. For if they have the good of religion, they have moral and civil good also. These cannot be separated. People with doctrine only cannot have religion. Their moral and civil no. Their moral and civil good are lifeless and outward, only wanting to be seen and credited. In the intermediate, okay, who's next? I'm gonna stop here.
Okay. In the intermediate region of the other world, or in what Swedenborg calls the world of spirits, he says all meet and recognize one another. Here he is speaking of those who have passed through that world and found their particular places in heaven or hell. Next chapter, the embodiment of charity. Embodiment. The human being is charity's subject, and the charity in the person is determined.
determined,
determined by what sort of subject the person is. It also determines what charity the person will exercise toward the neighbor. The human being was created to be an embodiment of love and wisdom. Humans were created into the image and likeness of God, and God is love itself and wisdom itself. You know that such as a person's charity is, such is the person. Yet love is wisdom's life and is the essence, while wisdom is the form that love takes, as we have shown many times in angelic wisdom concerning divine love and divine wisdom. There is no need to add more here. To be a human being today, a person must be charity embodied. We say today because in the course of time, from the first creation, people have become external, having turned away from love of the Lord to wisdom. They have eaten of the tree of knowledge and of wisdom, and internal love has been turned into external. The third heaven from the earliest people is in love and wisdom, but the second heaven comes from a lower love called charity and from a wisdom called intelligence. When finally people have turned quite external, their love is called charity and their wisdom faith. Such is the spiritual status of people now. There is spiritual but not celestial love with some, and even the spiritual love is charity. To them, faith means truth, and truth is what forms the understanding of intelligence. By charity embodied or in form is meant that charity is a person's life, for the form comes from the life. How it does shall be told under the fourth proposition following. An angel in heaven appears as charity embodied. The character of the charity is visible in the face and audible in the voice. For after death we become our love, that is, our love's affection. A spirit or angel is nothing else. Indeed, the spirit or angel is a form of charity as to the whole body. It is remarkable that looking at an angel, some have even recognized the form of the angel's charity in every member. With us in the world, charity is not embodied down to face, body, and voice, but the mind can be its embodiment. And after death, the mind is the spirit in human form. Still, a sincere person with no thoughts contrary to charity can be recognized by face and voice, though with some difficulty, because there are hypocrites who can feign feign.
Feign.
It's like simulate, feign. Charity's sincerity, like honesty. Sincerity and indeed put it on to the life. If, however, an angel inspects the face and listens to the voice, the angel knows what a person's quality is, not seeing the material mask to which the material person attends. Embodiments of charity are innumerable, as many as the angels of the second heaven, infinite in number. Its varieties are as many as the affections of truth from good. This affection is charity. One who is not an embodiment of charity is an embodiment of hatred, or if not an embodiment of affection of truth from good, is one of the affections is of falsity from evil. Hell consists of these. All varieties of hatred and lust are to be found there. There are genera and species of charities as there are of affections generally. We can speak of charities in the plural, therefore, and there are degrees of two kinds in it. We have treated of these degrees in the third chapter of Angelic Wisdom concerning divine love and divine wisdom. We are bound to be charity embodied not from ourselves, but from the Lord. In other words, we are containers of charity. The life of anyone who is being regenerated is an affection of truth from good or charity. Life is only from life, or from the Lord, who is himself life, as he teaches, that he is the way, the truth, and the life. And elsewhere, that as the Father has life in himself, he has given the Son to have life in himself. And elsewhere, and because life is God, the divine cannot be made a finite and created person's own, but can only flow into the person as into a container and be attached just as the eye is not light itself, but can receive it, nor the ear hearing in itself, but a container. So also the rest of the senses, and also the mind and its interior senses. The human being is therefore charity's subject, but a recipient subject, having been created a form recipient of life, as the eye was made a form recipient of light and objects in light, and the ear a form uh, recipient, form of recipient,
recipient,
recipient of sound flowing in with its harmonies. Those who think on themselves as a form of charity are deceived. They then think they are God or that the divine is transfused in them, in effect denying God. Or they place merit in the works of charity and cultivate an external charity, but no internal, and then the Lord cannot dwell with them. The Lord dwells not in things that are a person's own, but in what is his own. The Lord must dwell in the divine, and for this reason makes us receivers of the proceeding divine, that is, of charity. Proceeding.
proceeding,
Proceeding. It's like production. Mhm. We have been created to think and will for ourselves, and thus to speak and act for ourselves. On the other hand, we have been given to understand that all good of charity and all truth of faith are from the Lord. When we think contrary to this, we are not in the light of truth, but in foolish light, which in heaven's light is darkness. Nor can we be enlightened in other truth than except on in point of memory, but not as to perception, which is faith in its essence. It is plain then that human beings are no more than embodiments of charity. The charity is the Lord's with people, and that people are enabled to act as though they were charity to the end that they may become receivers of it and realize a mutual union with God as if of themselves and yet from the Lord. Mhm. Who wants to read next? From this, a person becomes such.
Okay, I
From
read
this,
it.
yeah, go ahead.
A person becomes such an embodiment of charity when the good of will and the truths of the understanding are united in the person. All that belongs to the uh, will we call good, and all that belongs to the understanding we call truth. The will be the will being is heaven's heat, and the understanding in heaven's light. What we say of the will, that it has no character apart from the understanding. Does not be called anything then, but receives its character and becomes something in the understanding. One thing or another according to the latter content. Wait, I can read it.
Letters.
The latter contents.
Hmm.
Latters.
Letters is like last.
Okay. This we can say too about good apart from the truth and about good joined with truth. We must therefore learn genuine truth. The good of the will unites itself with them, and in so doing becomes the good of charity. All charity's variety comes from this or from truth. Truths. In the understanding for truth in its essence is good, and truth is the form of good, just as speech is a form of sound. To be illustrated. Okay. Sound has a twofold form, song and speech. So to the affection, so to the affection of truth from good or charity, we shall treat of them. We have said, therefore, the charity is the affection of truth from good or the affection of spiritual truth. From this affection spring the affection of rational or moral truth, and the affection of civil or natural truth. Those in charity are therefore in light, and if they chance not to be, still they love the light. Light is truth, and the heat is good. We know the all uh, vegetation. Is it vegetation?
Vegetation, I think. It's about uh,
Vegetation.
vegetation, like flora, plantation, flora,
Flora.
flora.
Vegetation and fruitfulness are from good by truth. So too are spiritual vegetation and fruitfulness. Those not in charity do not love truth in the light, but they may love it in the shade. Indeed, the truth of faith today is of this order, namely that a thing is to be believed true even though not seen with the understanding, but falsity may be called truth then, and by corroboration,
Corroboration. It's like
corroboration,
Corroboration.
it's
corroboration,
confirmation. Corroboration.
be substituted for it. All that issues from a person who is a embodiment of charity has a like nature. Thus is also charity. Three things can be said to appear: thought, speech, and action. From a person who is a form of charity, thought flows out of the affection that
Substituted. Substituted.
substituted, like that.
Substituted.
It's like replaced. Substituted. Substituted. It's like replaced. The affection that.
That is charity, speech springs as a vocalizing of the affections. The thoughts, affection being the sound. And the action begins by an impulse in which is charity. This impulse proceeds from purpose, and the thoughts affection gives the purpose. Charity's manifestation is first of all in the interior perception, that is an outgrowth of spiritual heat and light. There the person's essence resides.
It maybe resides.
Is it resides or resides?
It's, I think resides.
Resides.
All
The
right, resides.
resides. It's like live, dwell, residence because it's from residence, for example.
Okay,
Resides.
resides. Charity then extends itself into lower
D-
derivatives.
derivatives.
Oh
I
yeah,
forgot. Derivatives.
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 Derivatives. It's
Derivatives.
like derived. It's like
Derivative.
maybe conclusion, any conclusion. Derivatives. And
And emerge and develops much as a shoot, and then tree to tree do from seed. The tree is what abides. The fruits
bites.
are abides.
What abides? What is it?
Abides.
It's like abides is like dwell. Full of
Comply.
remain, maybe. Abides.
Okay. The fruits are good works done in the body from the will of good and by the understanding of truth. So the tree comes into existence. Charity's inmost embodiment is like a seed. Everyone knows that nothing can be generated from a seed except what is of the species. All
Species.
the, all the issues are similar, although with much variety. Still, both a shoot and a branch with its fruits are generated from one seed. A person is charity inwardly, therefore, thus whatever is done from charity, although deeds, words, and the thoughts will have infinite variety, a person thus is an image of a person in varying form, with a common form everywhere manifest that is like a ground on which the variations arise. Hence, a person speaking or acting is known by another, provided only that the person's main affection is known. From what purpose and what love, as from what foundation?
Fountain.
Fountain. The person speaks and acts. The Lord says that a bad tree yields bad fruit, and a good tree good fruit, and that a bad tree cannot yield good fruit. Can somebody?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
I may try.
Okay.
But
Who wants to read?
I may try if you hear me good.
Yeah, I hear you. Yeah, well, you can read from here.
Um, Please correct me in case. A
Mhm.
person's life is in all of what a person wills and thinks, says and does. No one can act from any other life. Everything a person does is a personal of, expression of life. Hence is a likeness of it. In the spiritual world, all affections have their analogues in objects, like trees, gardens, birds, and animals. In such things as these, closely inspected, the person's image appears. They are representations of person. In a world, a person's image will be found within all what the person does. We may love the neighbor from no charity, but strictly vivid. This is not loving the neighbor. Examples will make the point clear. An evil person can love a good person without loving them.
This word is strictly or strictly. Let's see.
Strictly.
Strictly.
Strictly, yeah. Strictly is like precisely, purely.
Я читаю.
Okay, this word. I translate from synonyms actually.
Rigorously.
Мгм.
Rigorously. Strictly. Okay, next page.
Good in the person. An unbeliever.
Unbeliever.
Believer
An
Thanks.
unbeliever.
In an unbeliever in good may
God.
in God may nevertheless feel moved to love and gently who says what he does his
Gentile.
work
It's
Gentile.
Gentile. Gentile, yeah.
I'm sorry.
Gentile.
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 Uh, Fightfully because God so wills. A person who is not lover of country can, as it were, love someone known as a lover of country, assenting to what the person says, reflecting. This person is good at heard, speaking out of love. I have seen as many as 100 hearers.
Hearers. How to pronounce hearers? Hearers. It's about hearing. Yeah.
Hearers.
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 Like listener. Hearers. 100 hearers.
Okay.
Deeply
Here, deeply impressed by a person noting for having love of country and scarcely
scarcely.
then
Scarcely.
then among them loved it themselves. In the same way, listeners will love a preacher who claims to be speaking from God and out of zeal for souls of listeners, despite the fact that they do not love God or believe anything. They are moved when they listen and praise and love the preacher and send gifts. Sincere,
Sincere.
sincere,
Sincere in the sense like
Sincere.
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 Sincere. It's like
People are loved by insincere, yes,
yeah, insincere people.
truthful people by deceivers.
Sincere and insincere.
It's the same.
Insincere.
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 Insincere and sincere. Sincere and insincere.
Insincere
Sincere.
people.
Sincere and insincere.
Insincere people, truthful people by deceivers, the faithful by faithless. A chaste man who loves his wife by unchaste persons, and so on. This is the way things stand while the mind is in general true, but as soon
Thought.
as the
General thought.
thought.
Thought is like thinking.
Thought.
Yeah,
Thought.
Thought.
thought. But as soon as the general person fades, the light does.
Perception. General perception.
Perceptions. Perception.
Perception is like
Perception.
is like sensation. Perception.
Awareness. Perception fades, the light does. This comes from subjecting the matter to the outlook of a lower through and questioning it. Into this flows a light from the person or the world, but into the general through a light
Outlook. I have
outlook.
Outlook application, but what is it?
Outlook.
Outlook. Outlook, like Microsoft Outlook, yeah, computer program. It's like prospect, review,
Review.
forecast. Okay. Outlook of the lore question. You
This
have read
page
it, yeah?
here.
Mhm,
Yes.
mhm. Next page, a light.
From heaven. Light from heaven flows steadily in into a
Steadily.
person's
It's steadily, yeah.
steadily.
I think it's steadily.
Steadily.
Yeah, steadily,
Oh,
like
steadily.
constantly, steadily.
Steadily. Mhm. Into a person's understanding, if only the person does not withdraw into
With
personal light.
withdraw, yeah, withdraw.
Withdraw. Mhm. In the personal light, on doing this, the person extinguishes
It extinguishes.
extinguishes whatever light from heaven where has been. All of us have general perception of
Perception, perception.
truth, but the law of what is lower casts us down from this height
Height.
in height into a perception of ourselves. The later perception is
Later.
material.
It's later. It's not
Later.
later. Later is one. If one T, it's later, but
Latter.
it's later. Like last.
The latter perception is material, acting in accord with our eyesight. It is fancy or
Fancy. I forgot what is fancy.
Fancy.
Fancy. Yeah, it's like about fun. Fancy.
скрадный, красивый.
Fantasy, like this. It is fancy or
Or
imagination.
imaginations. We really love the neighbor when we love the person. From charity in ourselves, then we unite ourselves with the person's good and not with the person. Should the person forsake? It's right.
Forsake.
Forsake. What is good? We no longer love the person. The union is a spiritual one, for spiritual conceived. The neighbor is goodness. To love the neighbor, therefore, we must ourselves be embodiments of charity. There is
Yeah, that's it's like footnotes. Yeah, before it's
okay.
I think it doesn't matter. And next, thank you very much. Next chapter is the general good. I'll read this. The human being.
Very much.
A human being is born to become charity and can become charity only by doing the good of use to the neighbor constantly from affection and pleasure. The general good grows out of the goods of use that individuals do, while the goods of use that individuals do are grounded in the general good. We say goods of use because all goods of love to the neighbor or of charity are uses and all uses goods. So we employ the compact employ. I forgot.
Employ.
Employ, like use. So we employ the compact term good of use. We might call them fruits of use. Everyone, as we know, is born to do a service and to do others service. Anyone who does not is called a useless member and is cast off. The person who only serves self is useless too, though not so called. In a well-ordered state, provision is made, therefore, that no one shall be idle. The idle are compelled to do some work, even a beggar is, if well. Infants and children in the charge of nursemaids,
Nursemaids.
nursemaids, like nursemaids. And teachers do not do goods of use, to be sure, but they are learning to do them and have it for a goal. The good of use is in the goal. To build a house, materials have first to be gathered, a foundation laid, and walls raised, and at length it is occupied. The good of a house is in occupying it. The general good consists of the following things: that in any community of country there be the divine among them, there be justice among them, there be morality among them, there be industry, knowledge, and integrity among them, there be the necessities of life, there be the necessities for employment. It's like employ.
Employment.
It's like job. It's about job. Employment. To have job. There be the necessities for self-defense. There be a sufficiency of wealth.
Sufficiency.
Like prosperity. Sufficiency of wealth, affording the above three necessities. Affording, like giving, affording. While it consists of these things, the general good does not come to pass of itself, but arises from the individuals in the community and through the goods of use that they do. For even the divine is there through ministers, and justice through magistrates and judges, magistrates. Magistrates. It's like officer, magistrates. And judges, and morality through what is divine and just, necessities through work and business, and so on. It is understood that every general thing is made up of particulars, hence the designation. Particulars. It's like detailed report, particulars. Detail. Particulars. Particulars. Particulars, hence the designation. Designation. It's like name, designation, definition. And any general entity is what its parts are. Garden is what the trees and their fruit are. Meadows are what the crops of grass are. Fields that the grain is and the plants and flowers. A ship is what all its numerous parts are. The arrangement and the character of the parts make the general thing more perfect or less perfect. It is also recognized that the goods of use done by individuals are grounded in the general good, for from it each draws individual good of use. The general good is the source of all necessities, whether of life, employment, or self-defense, and also wealth by which the necessities are procured. Procured.
Procured.
Procured. It's like acquired, procured, insured.
Insured.
Procured. For under the common good, we have in mind not only a state and its communities, but also a country or a kingdom. But these are far-reaching subjects and will be explained more clearly in what follows. For there are many variations, all agreeing, however, with this law. Okay, maybe someone wants to continue from
I'll
this.
read. Can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead.
The
From
goods of use that individuals do, out of which the general good arises, are ministries, offices, callings, and different occupations. We mean by ministries priesthoods and their duties by offices, various civil positions by occupations. We mean the work of artisans and others, which is various, and by callings, various pursuits, businesses, and domestic services. Of these four, the state or community consists. Those engaged in ministries provide that the divine shall be there, the various civil positions, that justice shall be there, as well as morality, industry, knowledge, and integrity. Various workers, that there shall be the necessities of life.
Pursuits, various pursuits.
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 Chases, yeah.
Yeah, like a fair. Pursuits.
Life. Also merchants, that there shall be the necessities for employment, soldiers, that there may be protection that helps especially to a sufficiency of wealth, as do farmers. Everyone appreciates that the general good is in keeping with the goods, the occupations and pursuits of all kinds. All the callings and occupations viewed as goods of use help constitute a form answering to the heavenly form. The heavenly form is such that everyone is engaged in some ministry, office, occupation, or work. Heavenly communities know no idleness. No one who does nothing or who wishes to live at ease or only to talk, walk, and sleep is tolerated there. Things are so arranged that people are allotted their places nearer the center or farther from the center, according to use. The nearer the center, the more magnificent the dwellings; the more remote, the less magnificent, with variations in east, west, south, and north. On entering a community, all are introduced into their callings and allotted homes, answering to their work. Every community is a series of affections fully ordered. All are delighted with their work there. They get pleasure from it. They flee idleness as they would a pestilence. Can you search this, please?
Pestilence.
Pestilence.
It's like epidemic,
Epidemic.
Plague.
plague, pestilence. It's like a
All do
disease.
their work. All do their work from a love of use and so find joy of heart. The general joy also flows into them. So we may know from heavenly communities supremely both that individuals disposed according to varieties of affections constitute the general good, and also that every individual derives personal good from the general good. The same fact holds good on earth and earthly
Communities supremely,
supremely
Supremely.
supremely
highly,
like highly, and
extraordinary,
and
and
earthly.
earthly communities correspond then to heavenly, and when they correspond, these things are present. The divine is present, justice is, morality and integrity are, wisdom is, industry is, the common life inspires all these individuals when the single member, that is, an angel, is in charity. Should I continue?
Yeah, keep reading.
Out of the general good and in the measure in which they have charity, angels are given the necessities of life and service, and also wealth, and especially pleasure and happiness. This, however, is not known on earth, where we put pleasure and fortune in honors and wealth. If we spend our lives so, we become mean and miserly and enter hell. But when we do our work from an affection of charity, we enter a heavenly community. Innumerable occupations and callings, all spiritual, are to be
I think it's innumerable. Yeah.
innumerable, yes,
Innumerable.
infinite.
Innumerable, like countless. And what is miserly?
Miserly, yeah, miserly,
Miserly.
Miserly.
miserly. Okay,
Miserly.
It's like greedy.
greedy.
Greedy
Okay,
person. We become mean. I don't understand mean, like mean, but in this
mean
sense,
means
like mean,
bad
mean, like
behavior. Mean means like someone who is mean. He's like rude, you know.
it's about greedy too. I think like yeah, it's because mean and misery. If we see two words,
We become mean and miserly.
mean and miserly, like cruel person, like
Yeah,
mean, mm, like
mean means like
bad
rude,
person.
cruel. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Or to
Callings
be
spiritual are to be found.
um, on owned. Is it owned? I couldn't see.
Found
Found.
innumerable occupations and callings all spiritual are to be found.
Found in heaven, they can be described, but not so as to be comprehended. They also constitute a form that answers to the human form. The human body is organized as we have said heaven is. All things in body are goods of use in a most perfect form, and being in a most perfect form, they come to sensation as a single entity, and yet are all different. And in each kind, there are again various things in their own sequence and
Sequence in
order.
their own
Sequence,
sequence.
sequence means order, like
Sequence.
a
Yeah.
series,
Order. On sequence and order.
order. There are organs of sensation, which are five. There are viscera, which are many. Can you search viscera, viscera?
Viscera.
Viscera.
Viscera. It's like
Viscera.
inner organs.
Oh, okay,
Innards.
viscera.
Innards.
Innards.
There are viscera, which are many. There are organs of procreation, which are many in either sex. There are external members, the things belonging to the mind, that is, to the will and understanding, are still more numerous. The general things in the body are the heart and lungs. Their action passes into all parts of the body, organs, viscera, and members. The general things in the mind are the will and understanding. These general things keep in view the individual things as their parts of which they consist, and the parts, the neural, from which they arise. All things in the body are formed from use, in use, and for use. All are forms of use. The form of government in the soul's body is such that everything gets its task from what is general, and care is taken that general enables each thing to subsist. Can you search subsist? Subsist?
Exist. Hmm.
Subsist.
It's like exist, survive,
Survive,
eat,
dwell.
dwell,
Okay.
subsist. In this sense, like general enables each thing to subsist. I think it's like exist, to subsist.
To exist, survive. Yeah, the
Hmm.
heart furnishes blood to all parts of the body. Each part takes its allotment and in turn makes its contribution. In short, the form is wonderful. We have a celestial organization of uses in the body. This is attested by the fact that a heavenly community is like a human being. It also actually appears as a human being, uses there constitute that being because, in point of uses, the form of heavenly community corresponds to the form of the physical body. The heavenly form is a person in things greatest and least. So heaven as a whole is human, every community is which each angel is the reason is that the Lord from whom heaven exists is a person. Thank
Thank you. Who wants to continue? Maybe. Mhm. In this form, each individual is a good of use within the scope of the person's office of or employment. Person's office or employment. It's like serving.
Employment.
It's like job. Mhm. Employment. Charity is nothing else than an affection of truth from good, and an affection of truth from good is an affection of use. For unless an affection of truth from good issues in act, it dies. Acting on it is use. Acting on it is use. Genuine truth, the affection of which is charity, always has life with the neighbor in view. Consequently, the affection of truth from good always has it in view too. The good from which the affection springs is the will to do and to know in order to do. Otherwise, it is not genuine good from which is truth. Therefore, when a person is a use or a good of use, the person is also a charity. And then the person is called the charity in form. The person is its image also. All things in such a person are charities for intending use generally. The person does so in every instance. The life and soul of this person have become a love of use or an affection of use. A person looks inwardly to the Lord when and then and outwardly toward work. The human being is born to become charity and can become charity only by constantly doing the good of use to the neighbor from affection and pleasure. We shall tell in the following section how we can do the good of use to the neighbor constantly, and this from affection and its pleasure. We can do charity constantly if we make charity consist in good deeds only. When uses are not constant, there is an interruption, during which we can be turned aside into all sorts of loves and cravings, and not only leave off charity but also abandon good works. Charity perishes then at the hands of its opposites, and we serve two masters. We can also do the good of use from an affection for glory, honor, and gain, and for the pleasure we take in these things. We are not a charity then, but a lust, a form not of heaven but of hell. In hell people do good works under compulsion, but not from any affection for them. They are forced to it under compulsion. Yeah,
Compulsion.
it's like violence, under violence, under compulsion. Next, chapter is called charity and life work. Who wants to read? Charity and life work.
Okay, I read. Oh. Oh, I will.
No, yeah, you can go.
No, you can proceed.
Oh, okay. 7. Charity and life work. Looking to the Lord and avoiding evils as sins, people who do the work of their office or employment sincerely, justly, and faithfully become embodiments of charity. This follows from the preceding law that the human being is born to become charity, and that to become charity, a person must do the good of use constantly from affection and with pleasure. When people do the work of their office or employment sincerely, justly, and faithfully from affection, and the accom- accompanying, how to pronounce this?
Accompanying, I think accompanying.
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 Accompanying. It's like attached. Company.
The accompanying enjoyment, they're constantly in the good of use, not only toward the community or the public, but also toward individuals or private citizens. But this implies that they are looking to the Lord and avoiding evils as sins. For the first step in charity, as we showed above, is to look to the Lord and avoid.
Implies.
Implies.
It's like mean. Implies.
Evils as sins. And the second is to do goods. The goods that they do are goods of use, which they do daily. When they are not doing them, they are thinking of doing them. An interior affection remains within and desires it. So they are constantly in the good of use from morning to night, year in and year out, from early life to life's close. They cannot otherwise become embodiments or containers of charity. We shall treat now of charity in priest, in magistrate.
Magistrates, maybe.
Magistrates.
Magistrates. Magistrates, like officers. Magistrates.
So is it done? Or
Yeah, go on. Keep reading. You can read. Because this book is without sections. It's like pages. I think it's pages, numbers of pages.
oh.
and in officials under them, in judges, in army leaders and commanders under them, also in common soldiers and business people, in workers, in farmers, in ship captains and sailors, and in servants, charity and priest. Priests do the good of use constantly and become embodiment of charity if looking to the Lord and avoiding evils as sins. They do the work of the ministry committed to them sincerely, justly, and faithfully. They do this when the saving of souls actuates
What
them.
is it? What is it? Actuates. Actuates.
Actuates.
Actuates.
Actuates.
Actuates. It's like work. Mhm. Set in motion. Actuates.
When this affects them, truth affects them, for by truth souls to heaven, and they lead souls to heaven by truth when they lead them to the Lord. They then love to teach truth diligently from the Word, for teaching truth from the Word. They teach them from the Lord. The Lord not only is the Word, but the way, the truth, and the life, and the door. One who enters the sheepfold by the Lord as the door, accordingly is a good shepherd. But one who enters the sheepfold not by the Lord as the door is a bad shepherd, who is called a thief and robber. Charity in magistrates, women by magistrates, the chiefs in kingdoms, republics, provinces,
Provinces. Cities. Mhm.
jurisdiction, in civic affairs. The occupants of such posts, looking to the Lord and avoiding evils as sins, and doing the work of their high office sincerely, justly, and faithfully, do the work of use constantly, both to the community and to individuals in it, and become charity embodied. This takes place when the good of the subjects or citizens actuates them. If this good actuates them, it leads them together with others who are wise and God-fearing people, to enact useful laws, to see that they are kept, and above all to live under them, likewise to set over the people intelligent and well-disposed subordinates, through whom, under supervision, judgment and justice may prevail, and the common good by steadily accomplished. These officers will consider themselves highest in the order of those who are serving others, and not as heads, for head governs all things of the body from love and wisdom itself. And the Lord alone is love and wisdom itself, and by him a chief magistrate too will be led as a servant. Charity in officials under magistrates, by officials under magistrates, we mean those appointed by them over the people to discharge various necessary and useful duties. Any of this looking to the Lord and avoiding evils as sins, and doing the work of their official office sincerely, justly, and faithfully, become charity embodied, for they do the goods of use continually, whether they are on duty or off duty. The desire to do the goods of use persists in their mind, and this affection is the very life of charity. Use governs them and not prestige. Except for you,
Prestige. It's like
pres-
prestige. Yeah. Prestige.
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 prestige. Except for use sake, under such officials as a smaller general good commensurate.
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 Commensurate. Commensurate like corresponding. Confirming. Commensurate.
with the scope of their functions and subserving the the greater and the greatest general good, that of the kingdom of republic. When officials who are charity do their own work sincerely, justly, and faithfully, they care at one and the same time for this lesser common good of their province and for the greater and greatest. Aside from this, or after account is taken of the difference between the more extended and the more restricted scope of their respective uses, subordinate officials stand much as do magistrates, of whom you have treated. The lesser use also depends like servant on the greater. Charity in judges. Judges who look to the Lord and avoid evils as sins and render just judgments become embodiments of charity, for they do goods of use both to the community and to individuals in it, thus to the neighbor. They do so constantly when sitting as judges and when not sitting, thinking, speaking, and acting as they do from justice. For what is just, in the spiritual idea, the neighbor controls their factions. Such judges pass judgment on all people from justice and at the same time with impartiality. For the two qualities
What
are inseparable.
impartiality? Let's see this word.
Impartiality.
Impartiality, like objectively.
It means not taking
Objectivity.
sides.
Uh, say that again.
It means not taking sides.
Ah,
Like there's two
mm-hmm,
sides, you don't agree with any of them.
yeah, mm-hmm. It's about just judgment. Yeah,
Yeah.
partiality. Mm-hmm. Thank you.
The two qualities are inseparable. Inseparable. They also give judgment from the law then, for all law aims at these two things. Just judges hold sweets when cunning people try to pervert the sense of the law. They count it as sin in giving judgment to regard friendship or a gift or relationship or influence or any other consideration than that a person who lives according to the laws is entitled to security. Even when judging justly, they count it as sin if not do justice in the first place but the second. All the judgments of such judges are charity's doing, even when they inflict fines or penalties on guilty doers, for so they correct them and take care that
Fines.
Fines.
oh,
Fines. Fines is like uh, it's like penalty too. Monetary fine. Mhm. Fines. And take care of that.
that they shall not harm others were innocents and were the neighbor, being like fathers who, if they love their children, punish them when they misbehave. Charity
What is it?
normally
What is misbehave? Behavior like this? Yeah,
Misbehave.
like behave badly. Misbehave.
Charity and army leaders. By army leaders, highest officers are meant, whether king or archduke, or one appointed to
Oh,
hold command.
who is that? Archduke.
Archduke.
Archduke. Ah, it's about king's servants like this maybe.
If they look to the Lord and avoid evils as sins, and if they act sincerely, justly, and faithfully in the affairs of their leadership and command, they do goods of use that are goods of charity, meditating on these things always, applying themselves to them and doing them, they become charity. Even if they are kings or archdukes, they do not love war, but peace, and love it right through war. They go to war only for the defense of their country, thus not aggressors, but as defenders. Afterwards, once war is underway, if the only defense is aggression, they they become also aggressors. Unless born otherwise, they are brave and deceive in battle. Following battle, they are mild and merciful. In battle, they will act like lions if possible, but after battle, like lambs. They do not exult at the overthrow of an enemy or over the glory of victory, but over the deliverance of their country and their people from invasion by an enemy
In
and
invasion.
invasion. Okay, thank you.
Invasion. It's like it's about army invasion of army.
From invasion by an enemy and so from damage and destruction. They act prudently. Prudently,
Pru-
is it?
prudently. Prudently. It's like
Prudent.
wisely, I think. Prudently.
Prudently.
Wisely. Providently.
They act prudently, care faithfully for
This word, decisive, decisive, yeah, decisive,
Oh yeah.
Decisive.
decisive. It's like it's from decision, maybe. No, decisive, resolute,
Resolute.
resolute, decisive. Care faithfully for.
the members of the army as a father of a family for the children and household, and they love them each as they do their work sincerely and actively. Besides many more things, cunning with them is not cunning, but
Hello,
prudent.
hello,
Mm-hmm.
hello, hello.
Hello. Mm-hmm. Maybe.
Hello.
Hello. Maybe someone wants to continue. Maybe do you want to continue?
Emmanuel, Emmanuel, are you a
Yeah.
French guy? You are French?
Swedenborg.
You are
Swedenborg.
French?
He was from Sweden and he lived in England.
Ah,
I mean,
you're from
writer.
England.
I don't talk about myself. I'm talking about author of this book. We read. We read the book, and we can talk about this book if you want. If you want.
Okay, okay. What is this book?
This book is named Charity. You can see the title. Let's see, Charity, the practice of neighbor lines.
Okay.
By Manuel Swedenborg.
Do you know Gatsby le Magnifique? Gatsby the Beautiful?
No, I don't know. Actually, we're reading this book, and it's about topic of this book because you can see this book on the stream. We read this book. You can read.
Yeah, but
too.
can we change the book?
Actually, no, because I'm reading this book, and people are reading this book. It's a
Okay,
topic.
so can you read some party of this book, some passage?
Do you want to read? You can read next if you want
No. Can you just read some passage for me, please?
Sorry, I don't
Yeah, that's what
understand
we're
because of your
doing.
accent.
Yeah, that's what we're
Okay,
doing.
okay.
We're
Can
reading.
you
That's
read this? Can you read,
Yeah,
please?
just listen. Yeah, just listen. We're reading. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, who wants to continue? Maybe who wants to read next section like this from this charity and commanders and the army leaders?
Uh, do you love potatoes or not?
Sorry, I don't understand you. Okay, I will continue. Charity in commanders and army leaders. All of this may become charity, that is, angels of heaven, if they look to the Lord and avoid evils as sins and do the work of their commander sincerely, justly, and faithfully. They also do goods of use then that spring from charity. Their minds are in these goods, and when the mind is constantly in goods of use, it becomes a form of charity. The country is their neighbor. In the spiritual idea, the defense of it and its security from invasion and destruction are the neighbor. They do not exalt, they falsely exalt. Exalt, like rejoice, exalt. They do not exalt falsely when they have done nothing of merit, or for what matter, when they have done something that has merit. They consider their deeds the duty, and this makes them quiet in mind and not boastful. In war, they love the soldiers and them for their quickness, sincerity, like honesty, sincerity and obedience. Take good care of them and wish as well to them as to themselves, for the soldiers are victims of the glory of the use of their leaders. For commanders have a glory of use and the glory of honor. Those who are charities place the glory in the use and not in the honor. Other things stand with army officers as they do with army leaders, of whom we have treated with such difference as the scope of the command makes. Scope. Scope, like sphere, of the command makes. I have seen commanders of the character described in a relatively high heaven, and I have seen commanders not such in hell. Charity in common soldiers.
Hey, I would like
Soldiers.
to continue.
Ah, go
I would
ahead.
like to continue.
Okay, go ahead.
Soldiers who look to the Lord and avoid evils as sins and who do their work sincerely, justly, and faithfully also become charity. For in his for in this there is no distinction of person, for they abhor unjust plundering and despise unjust shedding of blood. In battle, it is another thing. Then they do not feel their abhorrence, thinking only of the enemy as someone wanting their blood. Their fury ends at the summons of the drum to desist from slaughter. With victory, they took in captives as neighbors.
What is abhorrence? It's like disgust. Hatred,
Yes.
disgust. And abhor is disgust too, I think. Yeah. It's like despised, detest. And drum. Drum. It's like a musical instrument, drum.
What is that language?
Sorry, what?
Which language was that you were searching?
Actually, I tried to translate from synonyms. Like, do you see it like
No, what I'm seeing is which language.
Drumbeat.
This translator is from Russian language.
Oh, okay, Russian.
Drum. But actually, I translate from synonyms. On captives as neighbors, according. Go on.
According to the quality of their good, before battle they lift their mind to the Lord and commit their life into His hand. Having done so, they let the mind from His height into the body and are brave. The thought about the Lord, which they are now unconscious of, remaining still in their minds, beyond the courage. If they die, then they die to the Lord. If they live to the Lord. Charity in Business People 167. People of business become charity if they look to the Lord and avoid evils as sins and transact their business sincerely, justly, and faithfully. They act from prudence as though it were their own, but nevertheless trust in divine providence. They are not depressed, therefore, in misfortunes, nor elated in success. They think of the morrow and yet do not think of it. They think what they must do on the morrow and how, but they do not think of the
Morrow is like idiot, I think. What is it? Morrow.
morning.
It's tomorrow. Yeah. Moron.
Oh,
I
say
mixed with
morning.
moron. Yeah. It's morrow. Morrow is tomorrow.
Oh,
But they do not think of the morrow.
tomorrow, in that they ascribe future things to divine providence and not to their own prudence. Indeed, they ascribe. What is ascribe?
Ascribe. It's like prescribe. It's like to describe.
Ascribe.
It's
Attribute,
like
attach.
write off.
Okay. They ascribe their own prudence to providence. They love the business in which they are engaged as the main matter and money as the instrumental and do not make the latter the principal and the former the instrumental. They love the work that is itself a good of use and not the means more than it. They do not distinguish them in this way, to be sure, and yet they are so distinguished when they look to the Lord and avoid evils as sins. Avarice in particular. What is avarice?
I don't know. Avarice.
Avarice.
It's like greed. Greed. For
Okay.
example, to be greedy for money, for food. Avarice.
Avarice in
Avarice.
particular.
Avarice.
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 Avarice. Avarice in particular, which is itself an evil and the root of more evils. In loving to do their own good, they love the common good, for this lies hid in that, as a tree root is hidden underground, from which, however, the tree grows and flowers and bears fruit. Not that they give to their own beyond what is due, but the public good is also the good of their own fellow citizens arising from it, whom they love from the charity of which they are embodiments. No one can know charity's hidden things within oneself, not seeing them, but the Lord sees them. Okay, this is it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, you too. What is embodiment?
Embodiment, like it's like to be
Embodiments.
incarnation, like personification. It's like it is from body like to get body from any idea. For example, if you have any idea in your mind and you can create that idea in matter, like in physical world, it means you embody it your idea in physical world.
Okay.
Like this, I understand it like
Okay,
embodiments.
thank you.
Mm-hmm. Who wants to continue? Maybe next section, 168, charity and workers.
I read
Go ahead.
charity in workers by workers. We mean laborers and artisans. Is it artisans? Artisans.
Artis- art-
Artisans.
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 It's like masters, craftsmen, artisans,
Artisans
skillful people like this.
artisans of different kinds. If they look to the Lord and avoid evils as sins, and do their work sincerely, justly, and faithfully, they also become embodiments of charity, as they love their work and apply themselves to it. For their occupations are goods of use, serving the neighbor for various necessities and utilities, such as food, clothing, defense, maintenance, amusement, and many other things, and contributing to the good of the state. When people put their mind on their work and employment out of a love of it, they live in it in affection and thought and are kept.
Utilities. It's like software. No.
Utilities is like
Utilities.
Utilities.
It's like
why
public utilities. And clothing, defense, maintenance. What is it? Maintenance. Maintenance.
maintenance.
Maintenance.
Maintenance.
Maintenance.
It's like service operation, maintenance, operation service, and amusement. What is it? Amusement.
Amusement.
It's like entertainment. It's like fun, entertainment, amusement, and many other things. Okay, and the kept.
From thinking and loving vain things. They are led by the Lord to think and love goods, and also to think and love the means to good, which are truths. It is otherwise with those who are not intent on any work. Workers who look to the Lord and avoid evils, as sins avoid the idleness.
Idleness.
For this is the devil's pillow. They avoid insincerity and deceit, and luxury and intemperance.
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 It's like intemperance, excess,
Excess.
like this. Intemperance.
They are industrious, sincere, sober, content with their lot, and do their work for their neighbor as for self. For in the performance of their work, they have the opportunity to love themselves and the neighbor in equal degree. Charity in farmers or farm workers, and
Vine dressers.
vine dressers.
It's about
Vine dressers.
wine dressers. Who grows wines.
Who look to the Lord and avoid evils as seen and do their work sincerely, justly, and faithfully. become charities in spirit. And when they become spirit,
Who is sober?
the bar is
Sober.
Sober. Like serious, prudent. Sober. Sober. They become spirits.
undead. They are in the form of charity. That form is the human form in which all are after death. Such farmers rise early, arrange their work, apply themselves to eat, and are constant and happy in it. Their work done, they are thrifty, sabor, vigilant. They act justly with their household at home, sincerely abroad with others. They gather the civil laws and justice, such as those in Decalogue, as divine and observe them. They love thrift.
Mhm. Thrifty. Yeah, thrifty. Thrifty.
Thrifty.
Thrifty.
Thrifty.
Thrifty. It's like economical.
Economical.
Economical. Thrifty. They're thrifty. For example, it's like for money. Thrifty, economical for money. Thrifty, I think. Sober. Sober. I knew it. And vigilant. Is it?
Vigilant.
Vigilant. It's like watchful and sleeping. Sharp. Wakeful. Okay, vigilant. And broad. Sincerely abroad.
Abroad.
Abroad. It's like foreign. Sincerely abroad with others. Maybe it's like yeah, it's like in exile. Like no, it's like in exile. Yeah, it's like
Overseas.
overseas. Okay, and the law.
Their fields and vineyards because of the products, and the products because they are a blessing, and render thanks to the Lord, and so look to Him steadily. Nah, maybe next.
Yeah. Go on.
Charity in ship captain. Ship captains to whom ships and their cargo are entrusted, or who own them, also become charities if they look to the Lord and avoid evils as sins, and do their work sincerely, justly, and faithfully. Their work is a
This word is, I think it's vineyard, not
vineyard,
wine.
vine,
Yeah,
vineyard.
Vineyards.
vineyard. Vineyard. But if we talk about wine,
Vine.
wine and vineyard. The work is
Greater good of use than many others, for it serves for worldwide communication and for world unification. And this surpassing work becomes a good of use, that is, a good of charity in them, as they act prudently from their knowledge, direct their efforts watchfully and soberly to the success of the voyage. Do not expose themselves rashly to dangers. Do not lose heart in the midst of them. Safe from them, they give thanks and praise to the
what
Lord.
is voyage? It's like voyage, like this. Yeah, voyage.
Voyage.
It's travel, trip, travel, voyage. And praise to the Lord.
To the Lord. They deal justly and sincerely with the sailors, faithfully with the ship's owners, justly with foreigners where the ship puts in. They have nothing to do with pirates. They are content with their pay and with legitimate gains beyond it. Seafarers who are charities looking to the Lord and avoiding evils, as scenes and doing their work sincerely, justly, and faithfully. Pray and sing praises more devoutly morning and evening than those who
Sea seafarers.
seafarers, like sea
Ah,
shipward.
sailors. Sailors.
Seafarers.
Seafarers. Seafarers. Sailors. And then those whose
Life is spent on land, for they trust more
Can
than
someone write me the title in
um,
the chat?
more than this to divine providence. I counsel seafarers.
he
Okay, hereafter
hereafter.
pray to the Lord, because He and no other is God of heaven and earth and sea.
Thank you very much. Maybe someone wants to read next. Charity in sailors. I'll read. Sailors to become charities as they look to the Lord and avoid evils as sins and do their work sincerely. Sincerely. Ah, sincerely.
Sincerely.
Yes, sincerely, justly and faithfully. In avoiding evils as sins, they avoid the devil, for the devil is evil itself. They are accepted by the Lord, then, and the goods that they do, then they do from the Lord. They do goods constantly only in the work enjoined on them, which is that of the seafarer. Seafarer. It is a good.
What's a
Sorry,
seafarer?
what?
Okay.
Seafarer is like sailor.
Seafarer.
Seafarer, sailor, who
Sailor.
works on the ships on the sea. Seafarer. It is a good work, being a good of use when they shun. What is it?
Shun.
I believe
Shun, like, like avoid, flee. When they shun the devil and are accepted by the Lord, they do not commit the evils listed in the Decalogue, that is, they do not kill, do not commit adultery, do not steal, do not bear false witness, for no one does these things who loves the neighbor. Those persons do not love the neighbors who hold them in such hatred that they wish to kill them, who would commit adultery with another's spouse, who would steal and plunder another's goods, who would bear false witness against the neighbor.
Are you reading the Bible?
No,
This the
it's a book of Swedenborg. You can see this book.
Carry on. I'm sorry if I interrupted.
This is this book, Charity by Manuel Swedenborg. You can see this book. The practice of neighborliness, like this.
Okay.
If you want to read, you can read next section.
No, thank you.
Who would commit adultery with another spouse, who would steal and plunder another's goods, who would bear false witness against the neighbor, and so on. These evils they certainly avoid who look to the Lord, and such sailors do not fare do not fear death, for if they die in the Lord and come into heaven. And there all people love one another as brothers and sisters, and render each other good services. I exhort, what is it, exhort? Sailors.
Exhort.
Exhort, like urge, instruct. Exhort. I exhort sailors now, as I have ship
And
captains.
can I give you a piece of advice?
Captains.
Yeah, what is it? What do you mean?
When you don't know the meaning of a word, okay, you look it up in the dictionary, right? So if you
Yeah.
don't know the meaning, look it up in the dictionary. Don't translate it into your own language, okay? But look at defined in English. That's better, okay? This will help you a lot.
Yeah, actually, it's a better way to translate from synonyms, because I learned synonyms, because this I don't see on translation from my first language, but I try to translate from synonyms and to memorize synonyms, because
Yeah,
it's better, because you can memorize
synonymous.
synonyms too.
Exactly, synonymous and definitions. Um, they're kind of the same thing, right? Except definitions are sentences if you don't understand, because sometimes synonymous are hard, right?
For example, do you see this word captains? For example,
Captains.
captains. You can see it's chief, commander, like
Yeah.
you can translate from
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. What I'm trying to tell you is don't take the literal translation of your language and try to look at the dictionary. This will help you more.
Actually, to translate from dictionary is more maybe it's more slowly, because it's more faster if because I can see synonyms and I can
But
read more faster.
listen, we're not looking at faster. We're looking at value and quality, right?
Yeah, I have dictionary. For example, I can translate from dictionary, but I will read more slowly, because do you see? It's like you should think about it. Like what does this word mean? Like exhort. It's dictionary like this.
Yeah. Okay.
And I can translate. Actually, I can translate from pictures too in this application. For example, if I don't know any word, I can see picture. For example, sailors. I can translate from web search, and I can see picture and image. Okay. Let's for example, next section is charity and servants. Maybe someone wants to continue. Okay, I will continue then. Charity and servants. Previous section. I should finish it. As I have ship captains. Yeah, captains like this. Captains.
Captain.
Captains.
Captains.
Yeah, captains. I have ship captains to approach the Lord and pray to him, for none other is God of heaven and earth and sea. Charity in servants, like their overseers. Servants become charities. That is, angels when they look to the Lord and avoid evils as sins and do the work of servants sincerely, justly, and faithfully. They work a true and constant good of charity is to wait on their overseers, to wish them well, to speak no evil of them, to act as sincerely in their absence. What is absence? For example, if I don't know it, do you see absence is like luck? I see luck. I know this word luck, and I can translate it like synonym to their absence. as in their presence, and not scorn to serve, for everyone in whatever degree of dignity must serve. Dignity. Dignity is like nobility, greatness, dignity,
dignity,
dignity, honor, pride, respect, worthy. Must serve even a king must serve the Lord. Insofar as people serve faithfully, they are loved and led by the Lord. Insofar as people look to the Lord and avoid evils as sins, they also serve freely and not under compulsion. Mhm. Okay, next chapter is charity and worship. Who wants to read, maybe?
I read
Charity. Yeah, go ahead.
charity and worship. Charity sign or acts of worship. Only charity is referable to looking to the Lord and avoiding evils as sins and doing the goods of use that belong to one's employment. Worship, however, is an external of body or of mind. Externals of the body are by act and speech, and externals of the mind are done indeed by will and thought, but uh, but are
But are
closely
closely.
connected with externals of the body. Externals of the body belonging to worship are going to church, hearing sermons, singing devotedly and kneeling in prayer, observing and sacrament of the supper. Then at home, uh, prayer morning and evening and at meals. Talking with others about charity and faith and about God, heaven, eternal life, and salvation. In the case of priests, preaching to, and also private teaching. And anyone teaching children and servants about such things, reading the word and books of instruction and externals of
Piety.
pi-
Piety, yeah?
oh yeah,
piety,
Piety, it's like reverence, fear of God. Piety.
all right. Externals of mind belonging to worships. Worship are thinking and meditating about God, heaven, eternal life, and salvation. Reflecting on the thoughts and intentions, whether they are evil or good, and that the evil is from the devil, the good from God, averting the mind from talk of things. It's impious, right?
Impious.
Impious,
Mm-hmm.
impious,
Pious, like it's like who has fear of God, but impious, like ungodly, who doesn't have fear of God.
translation. No, the pronunciation.
Impious, impious.
impious,
Impious, because do you remember on the previous page was pious and no, yeah, maybe
It's okay.
pious and impious.
Maybe I forgot. Occurring.
Averting,
averting,
averting. It's like preventing,
preventing,
prevention, averting, prevention. Pious, obscene. What is obscene? And filthy. T.
obscene,
It's like dirty, vulgar,
vulgar,
vulgar, vulgar, obscene.
obscene and filthy. Besides thoughts there are also affections that lodge themselves in the sight and sensation. These are called externals because they are closely connected with the externals of the body and indeed make one with them. Charity is to be found in the internal person and the sign of it in the external. It is known that the human being is internal and external. It is also known that the internal person is called spirit and the external flesh. People speak and some know of the battle between spirit and flesh, and the spirit that battles the flesh is the internal person, which is charity. The character of the internal person can make itself known only through the external person. It, re- it reveals itself in the combat with the external. It reveals itself especially when we examine ourselves, see our evils, and from knowledge confess them and resolve to repent, and then resist our evils and persuade ourselves to live a new life. If we fail to do these things, our internal person is evil. But if we do them, our internal person is good. The Lord acts into the external person by way of the internal. A battle ensues. Is it ensues? Ensues.
Ensues.
Ensues. Mm. It's like follow, happen, come. Mhm. Ensues.
Ensues. For evil resides in the external, into the external person called the flesh. Spirits from the hell, called the devil, are admitted, and the Lord within the person fights with them. If we, for our part, also fight, we triumph, and as far as devil as conquered. Room is made for goods to enter from the internal person. Thus, a person gradually becomes a new person, is regenerated. Whatever the internal person uh, projects from self and present to be seen and felt in the external is called a sign. If there is charity in the internal nature, it leads a person to reflect on personal evils, and the person comes to recognize and know them. If the person fails to do this, the external gives no sign of charity, even if the external is then worshipful and pious.
Pious.
Bias. Oh my.
Pious. Mhm. We, we saw this word before.
Yeah, yeah.
Pious.
Forgot.
Pious. Like religious, godly. Pious.
Yeah.
It is no sign of charity.
Sorry.
Charity is okay. I'm not gonna
It,
read it.
oh yeah. All right. I'll continue. It is no sign of charity. Okay. The charity external and not internal, and this is not charity. By a sign is meant an evidence of confirmation that a thing exists, because it indicates and signifies, illustrates, and attests. No internal is without its sign, its evidence. Any charity in the internal person or in the spirit that fails to fight with the external person and the flesh perish.
It's maybe signifies or signifies. Let's check it.
Signifies.
Signifies. Signifies. It's like symbolize, mean, and sign. And
It's
atta-
perishes. Perishes.
perishes. It's like to become dead.
Attests.
Attests. Like testify, confirm, attest. Perishes is like
Vanish.
to die. Yeah, to die.
Perishes.
To
Die.
disappear, to destroy. It
It is like a fountain of pure water that is it stagnates
stagnates, I think.
for all right, let's check.
Stagnates.
Yeah, stagnates like rotten. Anything rotten, stop. Rot.
Rot.
Stagnates. Like stagnated water.
Okay, stagnates for lack of an outlet. Either the fountain's flow ceases or the water falls from stagnation.
Yeah,
Should I
stagnation
read it?
of water.
Should I read it?
Yeah.
Outlet.
Outlet like exit.
Exit.
Exit. Outlet.
In another
Mm-hmm.
in another place, many confirmation of these things are to be given from the word. All right, I think that's not
Two
part of
pages. Yeah, 2 pages of the original manuscript are missing at this point, including the opening discussion of the next proposition. Okay. Okay, let's we finish this chapter. Who wants to read next? Maybe next chapter. Charity and charities. Charity and charities. I will read. Charities, benefactions. It's like benefit, maybe, yeah.
Benefactions.
Benefactions. It's like donation, good deed, kindness. Kindness. Charities, benefactions are all such good deeds as a person who is charity volunteers. What maybe volunteers?
Volunteers.
Volunteers. Aside from the person's occupation, no one is saved by these benefactions, but by the charity from which they come and which accordingly is in them. These benefactions are outside people, whereas charity is in people, and we are saved according to the quality of the good or charity in us. After death, most people who in the world wondered about their salvation, on finding that they are alive and on hearing that there is a heaven and hell, boast that they have done, boast that it's like, yeah,
Boast.
it's like pride, bragging. Boast, heaven and hell boast that they have done good works, given to the poor, helped the needy, and made contributions to pious uses. But they are asked, what was your motive in doing these things? Did you avoid evils as sins? Did you give thought to them? Some reply that they have had faith, but they are told, if you did not think of evils in you as sins, how could you have faith? Faith and evil do not keep company. Inquiries then made into the character of their life work, whether they did the uses of their occupations for fame, honor, and gain as principal goods, thus for their own sake, or whether for the neighbor's sake. In inquiry,
Inquiry.
inquiry. It's like investigation. Inquiry. They say that they did not distinguish between these in this way. The reply is made, if you looked to God and avoided evils as sins, these two would have become distinct, for the Lord distinguishes them. Insofar as they did not do this, they acted from evil and not from good. Our very affection is evident in the spiritual world, and its nature made manifest. Such as we are in our affections, such are all things that proceed from us. Proceed.
Proceed.
Proceed, like occur, begin, continue. That proceed from us. As of us are, all of us are led, therefore, to the community where our affection is. Those who make charity to consist only in good deeds or benefactions that have no charity in them unite themselves with infernal spirits inwardly and with heavenly spirits outwardly. But what is outward is finally stripped from all people, and they are left to their inner nature. Mhm. Who wants to read next chapter 10, Charity and Legal Obligations? Mhm. Nobody wants to read? Okay. Charity's obligations are all things that a person ought to do besides those mentioned above. The obligations of charity include taxes, levied,
Levied.
levied. It's like collect. It's about taxes. Levied. Taxes levied on subjects and citizens for different necessities. Necessities.
Necessities.
Necessities. Necessities. Necessities. Usefulness. Necessities. And uses in the state, customs, duties, the expense and outlay for spouse, children, servants, and workers, and in turn their dependents, some things too that a person outlay.
Outlay.
Mm-hmm. It's like cost, expenses that a person assumes as obligations. Assumes. It's like take. Take. Besides these, there are civil duties of difference, obedience, honor, and social, social, social. How to pronounce?
Social.
Social, social. Exchange that deserve to be called obligations because a person ought to do them, but it would fill pages to detail them. We call the uses imposed by the laws of a kingdom obligations of charity because charity does them from duty and not of its own initiative, and yet regarding them as uses. Uses.
Uses.
Uses. Uses. He does them sincerely and good naturedly. Good naturedly.
Good naturedly.
Good naturedly. Good naturedly. Uses good naturedly. The sincerity and good sincerity and good intention.
Sincerity.
Sincerity. The sincerity and good intention of charity are present in every obligation with those who have charity, but both the sincerity and the good intentions are in keeping with the uses that they foresee in the obligations and also with the disposition that they know how to make of the uses. These obligations look the same outwardly with people who have no charity but are unlike inwardly, for with them there is no sincerity, no good intention. If they do not fear the laws, therefore, or if they can elude, elude, escape. They can elude them under some pretext. They defraud. Defraud.
Defraud.
It's like deceived. Defraud. The obligations mentioned above are not the only obligations to such as these. The very laws of justice seem impositions to them, for they observe them only for fear of punishment and of disrepute, and therefore as a duty, and not from love of justice or from a love of the neighbor. Disrepute. It's about reputation, I think. Yeah.
Disrepute.
Disrepute. Bad reputation. Love of the neighbor. Next chapter is charity and recreation. Who wants to read?
I'll read.
Yeah, go
Charity
ahead.
has its diversions, which are various enjoyments and pleasures of the bodily senses, serving to recreate the mind. Among these are social occasions and conversations about public, private, or household affairs. Walks and pleasant views of beautiful places and homes, of trees and flowers in garden, wood and field, and of people, birds and flocks. Also,
What is diversions?
diversions,
Diversions.
Diversions.
distractions.
Yeah,
Mhm.
distractions.
Or taking another
Maybe
path.
amusement.
Or it could be a
Rejection.
distraction.
Redirection.
Yeah.
What is? People, birds, and flocks also.
Also shows of different kinds representing the moral virtues or depicting events in which something of divine providence appears. These recreations and others like them come through the sense of sight. Then there are melodies and songs that touch us according to their correspondence with the affections, and besides these, suitable jests expanding the mind, these on the part of the sense of hearing. There are also banquets, feasts, and entertainments, and the pleasantries accompanying them. Games, too, at home played with dice, balls, and cards, and dances at weddings and at festival gatherings. All such things are useful diversions for recreating the mind. There are manual occupations that give the body exercise and divert the mind from the works of its calling. There is reading, too, in books, delightful for narration and for opinion and the
Narration.
narration is like a reading.
Narration.
Story. Yeah? Mm-hmm. Like. Mm-hmm. And dice with dice. It's like a game.
It's a game,
Dice.
the square thing that has numbers on it.
Mm. Mm-hmm. Okay. And the
And uh,
per,
also
pers,
the
per, per,
per or
peruso. I cannot translate this word.
per usual. No, it's per usual. Per usual of the news and the newspaper in newspapers. All these
Mm-hmm.
serve for diversions to everyone in office or employment. They may be called diversions of the office or employment. In reality, they are diversions of the affection that we engage in our work. For in any employment, there is an affection that stretches the mind and keeps it intent on its work or pursuit. Unrelaxed, the mind
Pursuit.
pursues.
Pursuit.
Pursuit.
It's like persecution.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Pursuit and
Means
persecution.
chasing or means occupation. Yeah.
Pursuit is like chase.
Mm-hmm. Chase. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Chase.
Yes.
Chase. Mm-hmm. Thank you. Unrelaxed, the
The
mind
mind
becomes.
becomes dull and its desire stale. As salt on losing its saltiness no longer stimulates, or as a bow, never unstrung, loses the force of its elasticity. This is just as true of the mind, kept day after day in the same ideas, or the eyes, gazing only at one object or steadily at one color, for to look steadily at a black object or at red or at white, as at snow, destroys the sight. On the other hand, the sight is enlivened if a person looks at many colors. Then,
Enlivened.
yeah, I don't know that one.
Enlivened.
Enlivened, enlivened,
Enlivened.
Enlivened.
revived, revitalize. Okay,
It's like inspired. Mm-hmm. To get
make
life
it
like
alive.
this. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Ate.
and many colors,
Ate.
unstrung. Okay,
What is this?
Unstrung.
Strong. Like dissolve. Dissolve.
dissolve.
Dissolve.
Dissolve like this. Force of its
Um,
elasticity.
Elasticity.
It's like flexibility, elasticity.
flexibility. Yes,
Ate.
Mm.
Ate.
and many
Okay,
color.
next
Okay,
page. Spontaneously.
simultaneously,
Simultaneously.
simultaneously, or one after another. Any form delights by its variety, as does, for example, a garland of skillfully arranged roses of different colors. We find the rainbow more charming than light itself. Steadily intent on its work, the mind longs for rest, and in order to rest, drops to the physical life and seeks pleasures there answering to its activities. The mind chooses the
It chooses. You said How did you say this word?
chooses or chooses, yeah,
Chooses.
Chooses.
chooses, sorry,
Chooses.
Select like this. Chooses
chooses
these.
those to suit its inner state in the organs of the body. The interior parts of the body get their pleasure chiefly from the sense of sight, hearing, smell, taste, and touch. For those pleasures, drawn though they are from outside, wend their way into the several parts of the body's members and organs. The body's inward sense of pleasure and well-being has no other source. The several fibers and tissues, capillaries, and connecting structures. Can you search capillaries?
Capillaries, it's like veins. It's about arteries.
It's smaller
Capillaries.
veins, I think.
Thanks.
Small arteries, yeah. Capillary
Oh,
tube.
Capillary
oh yeah.
tube.
Capillary tube. And connecting
Connecting structures,
structures.
and thus all the organs in general have their sensations of pleasure. We perceive all this not separately, but as one diffuse sensation. A person's pleasures, however, are in keeping with the character of the mind, pure or impure, spiritual or natural, heavenly or infernal. The will's love with its affections is within all physical sensation, and the understanding gives us to perceive the delights. The love of the will with its affections is the life in all sensation. The attendant perception of the understanding grasps the sensation. All delights and pleasures arise in this way. As daily work keeps the mind stretched with all of us, and it is the mind that is to be relaxed and revived by divergence. Obviously, divergence will vary according, that's a footnote, according to the affections within each mind. Divergence are one thing if the affection of charity is present, another if there is only an affection for honor there, another if it is an affection only for gain, another if we perform our duties only for the sake of self-maintenance, another if only for prestige, or if only for profits to make us rich or to let us live in pleasure, and so on. If the affection of charity is present, any of these diversions will refresh it. Shows, games, instrumental and vocal music, beauties of field and garden and social life, deep in them being renewed as it resets, the love of work and service remains. The longing for one's work sets a term on the diversions and brings them to an end. The Lord has been flowing into the diversions from heaven and bringing renewal. He also gives the interior sense of pleasure in them, of which those know nothing who are not in the affection of charity. He breathes a fragrance into them, or a kind of sweetness perceptible only to the person. We mean by fragrance a spiritual pleasantness, and by sweetness a spiritual delight. Pleasantness we predicate of wisdom and of its attendant perception in the understanding, while delight we predicate of love and its affections in the will.
Predicate. Predicate is like subject and predicate. It's like in English grammar. It's like syntactic analysis. Yeah. What is? Yeah, predicate.
Predicate.
Predicate. Predicate.
Predicate. Okay.
It's like it's predicate and attendant. But it's like it's about English grammar, but in this sense, what does it mean? Predicate, like
Predicate of love and its affection. Let's
predicate.
see.
Wait, I didn't really follow in the context, but I think predicate means that it's like it builds on something. Like, wait, I can go. I have definitely heard this word, predicated.
Mm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And maybe we can see in dictionary. Maybe the meaning.
Like built, like based on. So, for example, the theory of structure on which later chemistry was predicated. Like some theories
okay.
are like predicated on other theories. Yeah.
Mm.
It's not about
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Attendant. What is it? Attendant.
Something that
Attendant.
follows something else. So maybe you have like debt, and with debt follows attendant problems. Like if you owe somebody $10,000, there are gonna be some attendant problems to that. Like maybe you get anxiety and yeah, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Next page.
those in no affection of charity do not have the experience, because the spiritual mind is closed to them. In the degree in which they depart from charity, the mind on its violational side is as if compressed with glue. The diversions named are outwardly the same with people who have only an affection for honor, that is, who do the works of their calling only for reputation's sake, to be praised and promoted. These people work, they are alert in their work and do uses in abundance, not however from a love of use, but from self-love. Thus not out of love to the neighbor, but from a love of glory. They may take pleasure in the works of their calling, but it is an infernal pleasure. It may seem like heavenly pleasure to them, because the two are alike outwardly. Their pleasure is full of undelight, however, for they have no rest or peace of mind except as they meditate on fame and honor, and while they are being honored and idolized. When they are not thinking of these desired ends, they plunge into pleasures, drunkenness, luxury, fornication, hatred, and revenge, and into slander of the neighbor who does not pour out a libation.
What is it? Libation. Libation.
Libation.
Libation. It's like
Libation,
drinking.
drink.
Libation. Libation.
A libation in their honor. And when they are not promoted to higher honors, they grow tired of their work and give themselves up to leisure.
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 Free time. Yeah.
Leisure.
It's like free time. Mm-hmm. Leisure.
Yeah. Partying.
And
Yeah.
idolized.
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 Worship.
It's like deify.
Deify.
Deify. Deify.
By the way, I think
Idolized.
leisure can be pronounced leisure as well. I think it's more like an American way of pronouncing it. So
Oh
both are fine,
yeah.
I believe.
Thank you.
Leisure or leisure.
Leisure, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And in this sense, who does not pour out what
Libation in
does
their
it mean?
honor.
Yeah, so I think a libation is a drink that you kind of pour out as a sacrifice, usually to like some gods or something.
Do not pour out a libation to their honor. It's like do not praise him. Yeah,
Libation.
libation.
Yeah, yeah.
Up to leisure. Leisure.
And become idlers, and on their departure from the world become demons. Thank you.
Maybe someone wants to continue from this 195. Who wants to read? Okay. The divergence named also serve those who have an affection only for gain, but then are carnal. Carnal.
Carnal.
It's like fleshly, worldly.
Yeah,
Then
but I think
carnal.
mm.
It's like carnal people are like worldly people, yeah, or fleshly. What is better to translate? Worldly.
Yeah, you can say that.
Self-centeredness, yeah, self-centeredness. Centeredness, self-centeredness.
Yeah,
Maybe, yeah.
everything that the body kind of craves, like having sex and eat.
Carnal, inspired only by. Maybe do you? Maybe you can read too. Can you read maybe this from this? Because,
Yeah, sure. I can read if nobody else wants to.
Yeah, go ahead. Because your pronunciation is like native. You're native, yeah? Am I right? Native English speaker. Yeah.
No, I'm not a native.
No?
I don't think natives would view my pronunciation as native, but yeah, I can read. The diversions named also. Okay, the diversions named also serve those who have an affection only for gain, but then are carnal, inspired only by pleasure in riches. Such people are careful, prudent, and industrious, especially when they are merchants and artisans. If they are officials, they are vigilant in the duties of their office, but sell their uses. If judges, they sell justice.
I forgot what is vigilant. Vigilant.
Vigilant.
It's like watchful, wakeful.
And maybe in this context, like steadfast.
Vigilant in the duties. It's about good workers, yeah? Vigilant in the duties.
Yeah.
They sell justice.
If priests, they sell salvation. Wealth if their neighbor. They love office for the wealth to be gained by it. Those high in office may even sell their country and betray army and fellow citizens to the enemy. All this makes plain what their love is like in the diversions named. It is full of despoiling. These people rob and steal when they do not fear civil law or public punishment or loss of reputation, which they cherish for the sake of gain.
Cherish.
Yeah, they really like it, kind of.
Cherish.
Yeah, treasure, appreciate.
And despoiling.
Yeah, I didn't really know that actually.
Despoiling.
Despoiling, like deprived. To deprive. It's like to be robbed, I think, yeah.
Yeah, steal or violently remove valuable possessions from plunder. Okay, that's good to know. They seem sincere, but inwardly are insincere. The uses they perform in their offices and employments are pleasant and delightful to them, only as manure is to pigs, or as mice are to cats. They look on people as does a tiger or wolf on sheep and lambs to devour them, if possible. They do not know that the good of use has any reality. There is infernal pleasure and delight in their diversions. They are like donkeys that see nothing pleasant in meadow or field, except what is to be eaten, such as the grain of wheat or barley. But these things are said of the avaricious. What's avaricious? I have heard this word before, but I don't remember.
Avarice, yeah.
Avarice? No, avaricious.
No way, dude.
It's
That's
greedy,
Greek.
yeah.
Ah.
Greedy.
Yeah, okay.
To food.
Yeah, right. I've heard the word avarice before, I think. Yes. And that is when you have an extreme greed for something. Okay. Avaricious. Nice. The diversions named are the only uses to those.
Go on. To
Okay.
those who.
Yeah, the diversions named are the only uses to those who do the duties of their calling merely for the sake of self-maintenance, to those who perform them only for the reputation, and to those who perform them only for profit, in order to grow rich or live in pleasure. These are carnal and sensual people. Their spirits are unclean. They do the work for the calling, for the diversion's sake. They are human beasts, dead, and their duties are burdens to them. They look for substitutes to do the work of their office, retaining the name and the salary. When not engaged in the diversions we have named, they are idlers and slackers. They lie in bed, considering only how they may find companions with whom to talk.
Slackers.
Yeah, slacker is somebody who's like lazy.
Mm-hmm.
Slackers. Lay about.
Lay about. Slacker. Whom to talk.
Okay, eat and drink. They are a public burden. And death. After death, such people are confined in workhouses under a critical taskmaster who fixes the daily stint. Only as they do their work are they given any food or clothing or lodging. This continues until they are driven to do something useful. The hells abound in such workhouses. We may say something more about them at the end of our treatise, yeah. I think that's a thesis. No, it's like something you. Yeah, research paper.
Treatise.
Yeah. Research
You write
paper.
you're pretty much like a thesis. Yeah. These workrooms reek for agreeable.
And stint, daily stint.
Yeah, I mean I know stint, but I'm not sure in
Stint.
this context. Like you can say that
More.
you had it's a short period where you do something that you don't usually do. Like I had a stint where I worked as this, but then I continued to work as this kind of. But I'm not sure in this context. Okay.
Okay. Rick, the word Rick.
Yeah, it means to stink.
Workrooms.
Yeah. Release like a bad odor.
Reap.
For agreeable.
Odors arise only from a life of spiritual love or from a life of the love of service.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think
Maybe
it's like
somebody else
footnote.
Yeah.
I think it's it's like footnote. Yeah, Maribel will not here. It's footnote of this. And next, thank you very much. Is the next chapter is charity, church, and religion. Who wants to read? Maybe this chapter. I think it's the last chapter here because it's like page. This book is from 294 pages, and we will finish this book after 5 pages. Okay, I will read. If nobody
Would
wants
you
to
like
read.
to read, Courtney? Oh well.
Maybe you can finish this book if you will.
I mean, I can read another.
5 pages.
Should I be on mute?
Not if you want to read. Would you like to read?
Oh no, I'm dyslexic.
Oh, okay. I mean, yeah, you can be on mute then, I guess, if you don't want to speak. It doesn't matter much if you're like silent without muting yourself.
All right.
Okay.
I'm playing, so I'm just gonna.
Yeah. Okay. charity, church, and religion. Charity and faith make a unit. There is no church where there is no truth of faith, and there is no religion where there is no good of charity. We have treated off the union of charity and faith in 197. The doctrine of the New
Actually,
Jerusalem.
no, I think face in it's like number of page because it's like this book is like a book for smartphone, and I think it's a number of page. But he says faith in the doctrine of the New Jerusalem.
Okay. Okay. I thought 197 was like the previous thing we read, but okay. Okay. In the doctrine of the New Jerusalem about faith, also in the Apocalypse revealed, as also in angelic wisdom about divine providence, and in angelic wisdom concerning divine love and divine wisdom. All the points in these works may be summed up in two. First, no grain of spiritual faith is possible without charity. Charity being the life, soul, and essence of faith. Second, the faith is what the charity is, and any faith that precedes charity is a faith that has been learned or that has been handed down historically. In other words, it's only information. Here ends the manuscript of Swedenborg's first draft of the work. Okay, would somebody else like to continue? I'm getting a bit tired now from reading so much.
Actually, 4 pages. 4 pages.
Okay, I read it.
Okay, go on.
Where
Go ahead.
did it stop?
From this.
Okay. Church and religion make a unit, like truth and good. As truth is connected with faith and good, with charity, they make a single entity by union, as faith and charity do. Or to be better understood, they make a unit as understanding and will do. As we know, uh, people may understand well and yet not intend well. They may understand truths and speak them from understanding, and yet not do them from purpose. When they will as they understand and do as they say, they will and understanding make a unit in them. It is the same with church and religion. The church is a church from its doctrine, and religion is religion by virtue of a life according to doctrine. The doctrine must be composed of truth, and life must be one of good works. To be developed by developing propositions. All truths of faith in the church come from the word. Truths of faith from the word teach what is to be believed and done if a person is to be, is it allotted? Allotted eternal life.
Allotted is like avoided.
Allotted.
It's like allocated, endow, like this.
Wait, what's the context?
Person is to be allotted like allotted like
Yeah,
avoided.
given.
Given. Given.
He is to be given eternal life.
The term church has doctrine more in mind and religion, life in accordance with doctrine. Okay. There is neither church nor religion with those in whom faith is separated from charity and doctrine from life. The end. Thank you.
Nice.
Thank you. Congratulations, you finished this book.
Just one day. Nice.
Yeah.
Good job,
Next,
guys.
tomorrow I'm going to read this book, Secrets of Heaven. Secrets of Heaven, like this. It's a very interesting book. Like it's about spiritual meaning of Bible, the book of Genesis. Okay, yeah. This reading is over. Goodbye.
Okay,
See you.
well done, everyone. Bye-bye.
Yeah, bye.
Bye.
By the way, does anybody want to read another book?
Yeah, sure. Do you have a book in mind?
No, just any book, kind of. We just need somebody who would like to stream. Do we have any?
Oh yeah. I can do it. Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Give me a minute.
Sure.
So I have a book called 100 Years of Best American Stories. If you guys want, we can read that.
Yeah, sounds amazing.